Hi, I'm Laura. So when you think about it, it really is a crazy situation that we are in right now where a lot of students are at home and basically have to rely on Zoom University to teach themselves the material or like PowerPoint presentations with audio. For a lot of subjects it can be really easy and like it can be okay to handle, but for other subjects, I'm thinking calculus, I'm thinking physics, I'm thinking anatomy, it can be quite difficult to just rely on those mediums to learn the material. And so yeah, I just thought that today I could give you some tips and tricks that have helped me in the past in learning the material by myself, because I have had my share of bad teachers. It's not that those teachers weren't smart, but the way that they taught just did not suit me, and so I really developed some skills in order to like learn the material by myself. So you're probably wondering, okay, but how does she know like how to help me? Well, I actually studied health sciences in CJEB in college basically, and that really like made me develop a lot of like study methods. Some worked for me, some really didn't. So those tricks that I'm going to present to you today might unfortunately not work for you. And yeah, I really developed a system that helps me learn at my pace according to like the visual learner that I am. So if that's you too, without further ado, let's get right into this video. Yeah, so the first subject we're going to focus on is math. So how did I teach myself mathematics? Calculus to me was just a lot of muscle memory because my teacher was absolutely useless. How I taught myself calculus, I just did a lot of exercises. So like everything that was assigned by him, I would do. There's no other way to learn it in my opinion, because even with the explanations, I could just see a number, see what they were asking for, do it, because I had done so many exercises like those, so I was good, right? That's how I learned multiplication, that's how I learned derivatives and that thing. By myself, I watched a lot of Khan Academy too. I really recommend him. He teaches great. And whenever I would have questions, which was completely useless honestly, I would ask my teacher how he would do it. Also recommend the applications later because they have the corrections to every single one of your exercises. So if you didn't already know this and you don't have the solutions manual, I suggest getting the apps later. Really great. Okay, so a little side note here, I'm not sure if that was clear, but for calculus, yes, I did do every single problem like a lot, but I did also understand why I was doing it, right? Because I went to every class, and whenever I did not understand something, like why we were doing a specific move, I would ask my teacher why we were doing that. Because even in Slater, they would explain why we were doing it, which is why I really recommend you check out Slater. It's not even sponsored, I just really like the platform, so I really recommend you understand why you're doing it, because you might you might be passing that class, but then you'll go to the higher level class, if I may say, and then you won't understand anything you're doing because you didn't master the previous class. So I think it's really worth it, so like give it a try and really try to understand. And if you're hesitating on anything, you should really ask your teacher, or ask on the forums, sometimes they answer, or ask your classmates. So in physics, that was a harder subject for me just because it was just so... Taking physics was such a depressing time in my life, especially taking waves. I don't know how, but I actually like did great on the final, but I didn't do great on the class test. How I finally like learned the material for the final exam is that for every single chapter that there was, I would actually like read the book. This is my old waves textbook. Some people might be familiar with it. As you can see, I really like highlighted it like a lot, and after that, and whenever like I would have time, if I didn't already have notes on the subject or the notes I had were very unclear, what I would do is that I would really like write down what I felt was important. I would take notes on the different concepts and really try to understand what they meant. So this is what a typical study guide looked like in college for me. So this is for biology. I have lab 1 here, or you could assign them by chapters, and then I have homeostasis, the definition, etc., the mechanisms that depend on it, and then the endocrine system, and I have the variables that depend on it. And I would do the same thing for physics,
and I would really try to draw them out and inspire myself from the drawings that were in the book. I really tried to have the definition and then the variables that depended on it. And for physics, I would also include an example of calculations just to help me like jam up my memory whenever like I was doing problems and I was like having troubles, I didn't know how to do a certain type. I would include the calculations in right next to my definition.
Multiple choice in physics were so difficult for me. At first it was horrible, absolutely horrible. Like I really like I'm not the greatest at multiple choice. By reading the textbook and like really reading the way they word it and then doing the exercises that they suggested, because my textbook it also had a section on multiple choice and I would do them, fail them almost every single one of them, and then I would do them again. I would send my teacher an email or something asking him like why is it that answer. Like he would answer me like, oh, it's that answer because blah blah blah, and then I would do them again. It really hurts the ego by getting so many numbers wrong, but that's really how I learned the material. So what I would recommend is focus on your weaknesses. So if you struggle at multiple choice, you do a lot of them. You should do a lot of them until you know every single one that was in the book. If you don't have a book that like specifies that really offers multiple choice questions, in that case I would recommend asking your teacher to recommend you some questions. They often give out questions as is, especially in a situation like this. Yeah, I would really just go for your teacher, ask him what should you do in order to improve multiple choice. He most likely will have options for you to improve that, since he is there to help you. So the next tips I have for memorization are flashcards. You probably heard of it like a lot of times. Like there's the app quizzes. You can also do like physical flashcards. That's what I did. So this is just one of the many stacks I have for anatomy. Like I have just a lot of them because it was a thick class. Every time we had a different like concept, I would do a flashcard for that. I have, for example, the mechanisms of breathing. So I would write inspiration versus expiration, and basically just say inspiration, it's an active process that requires energy, versus expiration, it's a largely passive process that depends on non-elasticity. I didn't do them separately, inspiration and expiration, because it just gets long, but since you're really good at it, I just put them together. And then when I would prepare and study, I would just read mechanisms of breathing, and I would just be like, oh, I know that in breathing there's inspiration and expiration. So what is inspiration? Is it the one that takes energy? No, that's yes. Yes, it is. And yeah, that's basically how I learn. And I would get through like all this, but it really doesn't take that long. What takes long is writing them down, but I wouldn't like, honestly, for anatomy I didn't take any notes on paper. Like we just did the flashcards because I knew that that's how I wanted to study. So I based them off the PowerPoints my teacher offered. In my opinion, that was very much the best way to learn the material, just because by writing it down, because apparently when you write down something, it's the equivalent of reading it 7 times. So like just writing it down, and then the day before the exam or 2 days before, I would like really like do them. But if you're a good student, you could also do them like every single day. That's what I wish I did. That's what I did for the final exam. The ones that I wasn't sure about, I would put them in the maybe pile. The ones I still didn't know, put them back in like the pack that I would take back again. And then the ones I knew, I would just put them aside. So like I did them until every single one of them was in the okay, it's great. Definitely worth it to do, because I still remember everything I learned in that anatomy class. Like memorizing that, it's memorized for life. What is inspiration? Is it the one that takes energy? No, that's yes. Yes, it is. So the next part is how to understand the material. So I'm studying in nursing, right? So there's a lot of anatomy and physiology involved in nursing, right? But it's very different than what I learned in college, in the sense that there's a lot of understanding involved, which I was not expecting at first. And the way that they teach it, like they don't have a class like every single week where they like just barf the material at you. Like you really like you do your readings on your own. You take notes on them, you do a CMAP. Learning it by myself, like really by myself, it's hard, but I think I have a handle on it. Since in university I'm on my own so much, I really developed the skill of understanding. What I did is that either I would take like the PowerPoints that my teachers would give me, and then I would take notes on them on paper because you read them 7 times when you're writing them. But whenever I could, I would add colors to make sure that I really understood what the link was between this and that and that and that, so that I could really understand how, for example, family is important in home care, for example. And I also did those C maps where
Hi, this is editing me. Every time I'm saying CMAP, just assume I'm referring to like diagrams in general. It's just that CMAP was the software I used to make those diagrams.
I would draw up the concepts and how they're related to each other.
Okay, so I drew out a quick diagram of the nervous system and how it relates to a lot of things. Really quick, really incomplete, but it's really just to show you like how like everything is intertwined. So the nervous system regulates homeostasis, which allows the regulation of the human body. The human body depends on the nervous system and on shelter. Shelter for heat and for comfort, while it depends on the nervous system, which requires heat in order to carry out functions such as homeostasis, which allows regulation of breathing and temperature. So you can really see how everything is related, and you wouldn't have necessarily been able to see that just by writing it down on paper. So I really recommend you try to do this at least either on paper or on the computer, and it will really deepen your understanding of the subject.
It's interesting to see how things in physiology or in history are related, and by doing a CMAP like that, either on the computer or on paper, it really helped me to see all those links and to have a better understanding of the subject and give better quality answers in my exams. The best way to know if you've mastered the material is by trying to teach it to someone. The person doesn't even have to know what you're talking about, because you, like, just by telling someone what you think you know, you'll see where you're missing information. If it doesn't flow, you don't know it, and you need to like go back and study either by flashcards, either by doing resumes of the subjects, or by doing CMAPs like I showed you. So that's really how I made sure that I learned. Another good way of making sure that you learn the material is if you're part of a study group, right? But the thing is that, so you're not meeting up with anyone anyway, but like study groups are better. Like it's even better if you just meet with maybe one person in your class. You just make sure like if you have any questions, you can bounce off with each other, and if you have doubts, you can always like go into a larger study group. But if you're really studying intensely with someone, for example via FaceTime, it's easier with just one person, otherwise you get like sidetracked if it's in a larger group. So I don't really recommend large groups for studying if you're like still learning the material, right? But if it's the day of the exam, you know everything and you just want to make sure, larger group are fine, but be careful about not wasting time. Yeah, I think that those are all of my tips for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it was helpful. If you try any of those tips, you can always comment down below. But which one have you tried before? What works for you? Are there any tips that I missed? Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, you can always like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!